Literally, as I pressed the stream button, everything went wrong. My controller fell on the floor, water bottles went on the floor, things started blowing up. But we're back, and everything's good to go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gavra Racing, the Gran Turismo 7 League Season 8, round number 3 here at Dragon Trail Seaside. The fourth time, I believe, that we have been to this racetrack in this particular configuration. So a fairly popular one among the previous seasons, but I know one that has its fair share of love-hate relationships with the drivers. Tonight we've got 6 of them on the grid. Hopefully we'll get more as the season goes on. We've actually had 14 drivers start this championship, and unfortunately we haven't been able to get all 14 of them together. So we're nearly at a full grid. We do have spaces free. If you do want to join us, make sure to message me and we'll get you on the grid. Speaking of the grid, let's see who lines up on the grid for today's race. And it's the pink Super Formula on pole position, Piero. Pink pole Piero. That's quite catchy. We can adapt that, and hopefully it's something that we keep saying throughout this season. He puts his pink car on pole position. Just behind him is Bon Evil. I don't actually know who's leading the championship going into this race. I believe it's Cameron Kaboom, actually, I think, who could be leading the championship. No, Bon Evil is leading the championship going into this race, I believe. The number 5 lines up on the front row of the grid behind the pole sitter, Piero. In third place, we've got Cameron Kaboom in his beautiful black, purple and pink Super Formula. I've got no idea what the qualified times were. I don't actually have the results from the qualifying. I just know who was where, so... but I do remember it being pretty close. I can give you that one. So Cameron Kaboom starts third place, and in fourth place is myself, ex-Natty G, as you know and love. Starting in fourth place, car number 32 starts ahead of car number... There's no number, so there goes that. But it's Black Country Mush in his red, white and black Super Formula, lines up in 5th place. And last but not least, it's Dazza starting at the back of the grid in 6th place. Let me know, guys, in the chat if you can hear me loud and clear, and then we'll get this race underway. Obviously, I will do a quick audio test myself, just in case you guys don't get back to me before I can have a look. There we go. I can hear myself. If you can't, please let me know in the chat. Although if you can't hear me, you wouldn't have heard me ask you to do that, so you won't message in chat. Good luck. Turn on subtitles. Anyway. Let's get this race underway. This is a pre-recorded race, happened a couple of weeks ago now, so thank you very much, guys, for your patience in waiting for these streams to be streamed. Hopefully, now that I've got a little bit of free time, we can get up to date with the latest race. Without further ado, let's get into this race. Dragon Trail Seaside here in Croatia is host to round number 3. 5 red lights, 34 laps. And it's lights out, and away we go for the Croatian Grand Prix. Bon Evil gets a good start off the line, has the inside line going in towards turn 1. Natty as well on the medium compound tyres, going down the inside of Cameron Kaboom. Meanwhile up front, Piero and Bon Evil side by side at the apex of turn 2, but it's the Golf Williams that makes his way up into the lead of the race. A quick note as well before we get this race started. Well, we have got this race started, but the hard and the soft compound tyres are 2 mandatory tyres that must be used during the course of this race. The top 2 on hards, Natty on mediums, Cameron Kaboom on hards, Dazza on softs and Black Country Mush on hards, with front bumper damage early on in this race, and that will it repair itself after 30 seconds. Natty trying to use the grip advantage of those medium tyres to get himself up to the front of the field, and he's going to move down the inside of Bon Evil, down the inside of Piero, nearly hits into the back of Bon Evil, the new race leader, but Natty from 4th to 2nd in the early phases of this race, half a lap through the fast left-right chicane that can catch so many drivers out in the slower Group 3 cars. Not in these Super Formulas, completely flat out in towards the final proper corner. Bon Evil's ran wide, and that allows Natty to sweep one down the inside, and the Brits takes the lead of the race. They're going to go side by side though through the final corner, down the start-finish straight, and what a photo finish that would be if it was the final lap, although it's the final of the first lap, and on lap 2 of 34. But it's Natty who takes the lead of the race on those medium tyres and will be looking to pull out a sizable advantage for those behind on the hard. Remember, mediums are not mandatory, as the cabin for the boom goes wide through turn 3, luckily keeps the car facing in a straight line, but it is the soft and the hard compound tyres that are 2 mandatory tyres, although all 3 tyre compounds are available for every race weekend, including the 2 wet tyres, obviously. So the strategy here then is to use the low fuel at the start of the race to try and gain out an advantage on those hard compound tyre runners. Do as few laps as possible on the slower tyre and basically set quali lap after quali lap on the soft and medium compound tyre. We'll have to wait and see how well it works out for Natty. Obviously starting 4th, there's only 2 positions you can lose going backwards, but 3 you can gain going forward. So it's essentially there's nothing to lose apart from a couple of positions, literally only a couple of positions. The damage to the front of Black Country Mush's car has been repaired and they can get on his way. Meanwhile, Dazza at the back of Pat on those soft compound tyres, struggling to find a bit of pace on the red striped tyre. Up front though, Natty's pulling out that gap that he needs, but he needs to keep going every single lap until he pits for those hard compound tyres, and then we'll have to wait and see how he fares against the other drivers who will likely be on the softs by then. So for Natty's strategy to work, when he pits for the hard compound tyres, he needs to leave the pit on the hards in the lead of the race and with about a 2-3 second gap for every lap there is until the end of the race. That is the gap that he needs for his strategy to work. Meanwhile behind, Piero sizing up a move on Bon Evil down and towards the hairpin. A really good overtaking opportunity at this track. There are 3 main overtaking opportunities here at Dragon Trail Seaside. Turn 2, turn, I believe it's 13, and turn 16. The hairpin they've just gone through, and the corner after Death Chicane, the final proper corner, ignoring the little kink to the left, going down the start to finish straight. Through the final corner to try and find time, maybe to pull out of the dirty air as well. The dirty air in these cars is so bad and really does impact your performance. Another look from Piero at the inside, but couldn't quite find a way through. And Piero is going to have to start looking in his rearview mirrors because Cameron Kaboom is closing up on the back of the 2 cars in front ever so quickly. But meanwhile, you can see on the map in the top right that ex-Natty G is starting to leave the field. I'd say about 3 seconds, 4 seconds is the gap between the race leader and second place, which is roughly the gap he would be hoping for. The compound difference is roughly a second, and after 4 laps, a 4-second lead is not too bad. It has obviously set the fastest lap of the race. My apologies, it's turn 17 and turn 12, the hairpin and the final corner, not turn 10 and 16. But a train of 3 cars fighting for 2 spots on the podium as it seems, although we'll have to wait and see how things turn out at the end of the race when Natty's on those hards and everyone else is likely going to be on the softs. Cameron Kaboom's got a good run on Piero. He's just going to sit in behind bumper up for now. Does pull over to the right hand side of the circuit. Will he send one to the inside? Not on this occasion. Lap 5 of 34, there's still plenty of overtaking opportunities and laps to make it stick. But for now, Cameron just happy to sit behind Piero, maybe save a little bit of fuel in order to have a shorter pit stop time. Hasn't used any of the overtake button, crucially. You can see Natty's used about 80%. Piero roughly 90% of his overtake, roughly used about 10%, has 90 of it left. We'll have a little look in a minute as well. Black Country Mush hasn't really touched the overtake. Dazzle, however, has used more than 3/4 and is struggling through the double right-hander, the exit of turn 6. Didn't quite get the front turned in. Looks like Natty might have made a slight mistake because the gap appears to have come down a little bit. That camera angle made it seem like they were closer. Yeah, the gap's about 3 seconds now between the top two. I'm sure Natty knows that he needs to be going as quick as possible whilst on those medium compound tyres, trying something different. It has to be a two-stop now, whereas everyone else might just take the pain on these hard compound tyres before pitting for the mandatory soft compound tyre. I mean, I've said in previous streams that the hard compound tyre is useless, and the way to make it useful is to make it the mandatory tyre and add another tyre in, so that we have this diverse range of strategies between the one and the two stop. We'll have to wait and see which one is the most effective. Hamilton Boom appeared to have lost the rear on the exit of turn 6, but I think that was just a little bit of lag as his car hit the barrier on the left-hand side of the circuit. And hello, welcome to everyone tuning in to the Croatian Grand Prix here in Dragon Trail Seaside. We've got X-Matter-G in the lead of this race after 6 laps of racing on the medium compound tyres. Everyone else behind on the hards, apart from Gavra, who's on the softs. But the hards and the softs are mandatory tyres and have to be used over the course of the race. Otherwise, failure to use the mandatory tyres will result in a 1-minute time penalty. I thought that was Cameron to do, going straight into the wall on the right-hand side. We'll have to ride on board with a driver through that sequence of corners. It really is a beautiful corner to take in super formulas. Unfortunately, because this race isn't actually live, there is no stream for qualifying, so we can't get on board. We can go on board with Cameron Kaboom, who's now pulling over to the right-hand side of the track to go for a move on Piero down the inside, and he gets the move done up into third place and can now hunt down Bon Evil for second. These three drivers fighting for 2 steps on the podium. Unfortunately, if it were to finish like this, or in this order with Natty winning, only one of them won't feature on the podium. Cameron Kaboom, though, is purple to the first sector. Obviously, Natty doesn't know that, but that's not what he would like to hear. The drivers on hard tyres are going faster than him on the mediums, although he does have the fastest lap of the race so far in that New Zealand-themed Super Formula. And the helicopter getting very low to the circuit, maybe trying to get an autograph or a close-up. The concentration that it takes to drive these Super Formulas at a technical track like Dragon Trail Seaside, although due to the high downforce of these cars, the technicality is kind of sucked out of the circuit. Especially compared to a GT3 or GT4, where the S's are a lot slower and require more braking and lifting off. However, we're about to finish lap 7, start lap number 8 of this 34-lap race here in Dragon Trail Seaside, the third round of the GT7 Championship of Season 8. Bon Evil in second place, defending from Cameron Kaboom as they make their way through turn 2 and turn 3 for the 8th time this race, and Piero not too far behind them. Maybe it's his turn to save some overtake, conserve some fuel, and wait for the right opportunity to pounce. Maybe thinking about an undercut for the soft compound tyres if he fails to make any position by the time they reach the pit stop window. But Natty with a nice comfortable lead. The gap is about 5 seconds, I think, roughly, between the top two, so the gap is increasing. You'd hope it would be on those medium compound tyres. Cameron Kaboom on the inside, down towards turn 12, and makes his way up into second place ahead of Bon Evil. Cameron starting in third, got demoted to fourth, but is now up into second place and has made the move on the Gulf Williams, maybe that's McLaren. So let's ride on board with Bon Evil under the tunnel, or under the bridge I should say, down the inside for Bon Evil. Cameron's going to try and hold it round the outside. Does he find the grip on the outside line? Indeed he does. Nearly runs off the track, but just about keeps all 4 wheels inside of the curb as he moves to try and break the toe down the start-finish straight. You can see Piero, interestingly, not tucked up behind the slipstream. Maybe doesn't want to get too close and too involved in this battle for second place. Bonnie looking for a move down the inside as they make their way once again through the turn 2-3 chicane, and it's a synchronised spin. The two drivers, the two Brits running second and third, now in third and fourth as they spin together in unison on the exit curb of turn 3. That was absolutely beautiful, yet stunning at the same time. Let's ride on board with Bon Evil and see exactly how it happened. two passengers to that rather hilarious accident. But unfortunately for them, they both have front wing damage and suspension damage. Bonnie's got a little bit less damage than Cameron Kaboo, but not ideal for the pair of them. Just pushing the foot down too quickly on the outside curve, I believe, was the trigger for the accident, and not being on the less grippy hard compound tyres. Just didn't work in these high downforce, powerful cars. A beautiful move though from Bon Evil around the outside of Cameron Kaboo in towards the Essid. Didn't see it coming. I think his damage repaired a little bit quicker than Cameron's. I think roughly it should have been at the same time, but Cameron did have that damage to both front tyres. Bon Evil only had the front right, but they have lost 10 seconds in the middle sector alone in that accident. We'll use Piero's lap time when they cross the start-finish line to see the rough gap between the two cars. As Natty starts lap 10 in the lead of the race, but you can see Piero, 5 seconds into his lap. So we'll have to wait and see. Cameron Kaboo is into the pits off of the hard compound tyre. An interesting strategy for Cameron. Maybe he's converting onto the same one as the current race leader. So about 9-10 seconds now between Bon Evil and Piero, just using the lap time. You can see Piero's 26, 27, 18 is the lap time for Bon Evil. So about 9 to 10 seconds is the gap between second and third place. The time lost in the synchronised spin on the exit curve down at turn 3. Cameron Kaboo's gone early onto the soft compound tyres, so will inevitably undercut Bon Evil, but has to make another pit stop. So this is where things get even more interesting. Cameron and Bonnie both have to stop again in this race, because there's no way Cameron's doing 25 laps on a set of soft compound tyres. Can he catch up to the back of Bon Evil before he pits off of the hard compound tyres? That's the name of the game here in Dragon Trail Seaside. Because whenever time Cameron doesn't make up now, he'll have to make up when on the same compound tyres. So it's basically the opposite of what Natty's doing. Natty's getting that gap early. He's on those medium tyres. Will probably go onto a set of softs next to extend his advantage even more, whilst everyone's on worn hard / fresh soft. So because the mediums won't go further than the hards, that's just a fact, unless you drive at 2 miles per hour. So Natty's going to be on the fresh softs, whilst the likes of Pierre and Bonnie are on worn hards. So Natty's going to be so much more quicker than them. But then, a few laps later, Bonnie and Piero are going to be pitting off of those hards onto the fresh softs that will take them to the end of the road. So in terms of the pace differential, the favour is still in Natty on paper. He'll be on, no it won't, it'll be on Piero and Bon Evil, because they'll be on fresher softs whilst Natty's on worner softs. So the leaders, Pierre and Bonnie, will slowly close down the gap to the race leader, but not as much as Natty putting away whilst he's on the softs compared to everyone on the hards. I know it sounds really complicated, it might sound complicated, some might find it simple, but basically Natty will be on the fastest tyre until these guys pit for softs. And they'll start to slowly close the gap to the race leader, but for Natty's strategy to work, he needs to have built up the gap that he's trying to do now on these mediums, so that when he does eventually go into the hard compound tyre, he can do as little laps on them as possible and have as big a gap to the car behind as possible to reduce the chance of him being overtaken. Because as soon as Piero, Bonnie or Cameron Kaboo, whoever it might be, or even Black Country Mush, catch up to the back of Natty, it should be a slam dunk overtake with Natty being on those hards. We saw how easy it was for Natty to get from the lead of the race, went from 4th to 1st by in the space of 17 corners in 1 lap. But only time will tell to see if this strategy really will work. Piero, as it stands, appears to be the closest threat after the incidents to Bonnie and Cameron. I say incidents, it was a mistake from both drivers. And I can't actually remember who wins this race, so it should make it very interesting indeed. But unfortunately, due to the nature of how this strategy is playing out, and the incidents, the spin, the synchronized spin with Bonnie and Cameron does result in a lack of drivers being close to one another, hence a lack of overtaking. Which is why we're open to more drivers to join the grid. If we have more drivers doing the same thing, or like, 50-50 split between strategies, and have 2 packs of racing, and it will be absolutely incredible. So please message me, Discord, PlayStation, wherever. You can find me on Discord. Make sure to go over to the website, Gavra Racing. The link should be there, and then my Discord is xmatterg. You can just at me in the in one of the chats, or message me privately. We'll have whatever. Interestingly, Black Country Mission is actually going improving in sector split through sector 1, and Cameron also purple to the first sector on those fresh soft compound tyres. This is also interesting data for Natty, because his last lap time was a 1:21.6, which is 7/10 slower than Cameron Kaboom on softs. A massive tank flapper on the exit of the final corner as well, just for good measures, but another 21.6 for the race leader. So you'd think that's pretty decent pace from Natty, considering worn mediums are 7/10 slower than fresh softs. Although Cameron was purple to sector 1, so we'll wait and see what his final sector split is, if he improves. Having set 2 consecutive 120.9s, but there you go, 7/10 quicker, a 20.2 compared to what, a 21.6, 1.4 seconds between the race leader and the driver running in 5th place. Pierre on those hard compound tyres, starting to match Natty now, 21.8 and a 21.8 for Bon Evil. So the drivers in the top 3 on different tyres now matching in terms of lap time. Natty is slightly quicker. Pierre has spun. What has happened to Piero running in 2nd place? The beauty about the replay feature is that we have replays. Going in towards the downhill right-hander of turn 12. And drops the rear on the curve. Gets rear wing damage. Does he get it facing the right direction? Eventually he does. But look at the tyre smoke from the overheated rear tyres. And look who's approaching on the scene once again. It's Bon Evil 99 back for revenge. Or I say revenge. He's really done nothing wrong in the first spin. But Ben will be hungry for that 2nd place. I'm sure that spin from both drivers might have hindered their confidence a little bit and their commitment to putting the foot down. But if anything, it's helped Natty in this stint significantly, because he's 3 out of the 4 drivers behind him have spun and lost a chunk of time. Only 8 seconds lost for Piero, but it was 9 seconds lost to Bon Evil, and look how they've come back together again in the battle for 2nd place. Meanwhile behind, Cameron Kaboom drifting his way through turn 3 up into 4th place on those fresh soft compound tyres. So let's just pay attention to the cars at the head of the field. It's xmatterg with a sizable lead in this race, about 14 seconds now to the car behind. I'm not a fortune teller and I can't see into the future, but what I can tell you is that a British driver will be guaranteed a podium in this race. But will it be a Brit or a Frenchman who stands on the top step of the podium? Either way, the colours red, white and blue will be included in the flag and on the across all 3 steps of the podium. Going into this race, Piero with two third places and second in the sprint. Born Evil with a second place in Barcelona and a win in the sprint from the Red Bull Ring, but finished just off the podium in fourth place in the main event. Last time out. We're getting closer to the pit window. That is setting consecutive and consistent mid 1 minute 21s. The car's behind, now in the high 21s. Still lapping quicker than the cars around him. It's only a matter of time though before he pulls off to the right hand side of the track, going through the final corner. He dives into the pit lane, but not on this occasion. Stays out for another lap on those mediums. We've got a car round through Death Chicane and it's Black Country Mush. And let's ride on board with the red and black Super Formula to see exactly how this incident occurred. There's a corner that could be or should be completely flat out, but turns in too early, hits the inside wall, which does ping pong the car over to the other side of the circuit, and as a consequence, you hit the other barrier on the right hand side of the track. Really unfortunate for Black Country Mush. And has damage to practically every single part of this car apart from the engine and the rear tyres. Wonderfield coming to the pit to get off those hard. No, he doesn't stay out for another lap. But yeah, massive. A shame for Black Country Mush. There you go, 10 seconds lost in the final sector. And I never thought I'd say this on stream, but that means that X-Matter G is the only driver who hasn't spanned yet, I should add. In this race so far. You never know what could happen. We're only halfway through this race, like 17 of 34, and X-Matter has dominated this race, led every single lap, but it's still yet to make 2 more pit stops. All the cars behind have to only make 1. Will this strategy work? For all the viewers watching this live on Twitch, let me know in the chat. Or if you're watching it back on YouTube, pause the video, comment, will X-Matter G win this race? If you're a new viewer as well, just say who's Natty, who's Cameron, well I'm X-Matter G actually, but on the replay feature you can't have their PlayStation name above the car on the leaderboard, it's their nickname. And as you can see, the nicknames on the left hand side, Marcus Armstrong, Piero, Born Evil, Big Boy and Rush are the 5 drivers here tonight. The drivers' usernames, but for me it's easier just to refer them by PlayStation name. Also because some nicknames are a little bit interesting. And some drivers aren't here tonight with those interesting nicknames, but somehow they passed the preliminary clearance. So then, after Piero's spin a couple of laps ago, that brought Born Evil closer to the back of the pink Super Formula, but the Brit hasn't really been able to make much of a threat since then. It's kind of just dropped off about a second or two separating those two drivers. Maybe just trying to stay out of the effects from the dirty air. As the race leader, X-Matter G, is into the pit of the medium compound tyres. Now this is going to be very interesting. Fuel goes into the back of that Super Formula. Where does he feed out onto the circuit? It will be behind Piero and Born Evil. Soft compound tyres go on. Is it going to be ahead of Cameron Capoon? This could be close between the two British drivers. But Natty gets ahead and is in a podium position, and here is where we try and dissect the race and we always get proved wrong. Cameron's actually going to go for it on the inside, down towards turn 5, side by side between the two Brits. Cameron on the inside, Natty's going to try and hold it on the outside on those cold soft compound tyres, but with the freshness of those tyres, gets the move done, gets the traction I should say, so on the exit of turn 6. and up into third place. Cameron Kaboom on those real soft compound tyres still has to make another pit stop, but that's not going to deter him from going down the inside of X-Natty in towards turn 12, side by side, but Cameron gets the move done, drifting his way through the final corner. That allows Natty back alongside the inside in towards the right-left chicane, and Natty now back up into third place before they go through the fast swooping left-right chicane of turn 15 and 16. Beautiful stuff from these two, and I don't think it's over quite yet. But what I was going to say about dissecting the strategy is that both these drivers still have to make another pit stop. Cameron for soft, Natty for the hard, and luckily for both of them, they're together on circuit, which means the two stops could be fairly effective. All Natty now has to do is put out a pit stop gap to Piero. Yeah, that's what he has to do. That's what he and Cameron have to do if they want to finish first and second in this race. But as it stands, it looks like Piero and Bon Evil, despite their spins, might have the advantage in their favour. We've got to give credit though where credit's due for trying something new, something different from what might seem like the obvious, only using the two mandatory tyres. Cameron's using them twice, going for a hard soft. Natty opting for the probably a safer medium soft hard. But it'd be interesting to know actually whether Cameron believes he was forced into this strategy because he pitted, I believe, on the same lap as he spad. Now I might be wrong, but I think he pitted fairly early in this race after he and Bon Evil spad on the exit of turn 3. So whether he just wanted to get off the hard or whether it was just a coincidence that he spad on his in lap, only he knows. He probably doesn't remember because this race was streamed. Well, it was. When was this recorded? 4 weeks ago now, I think? Not too sure. Piero, though, has entered pit lane for a set of the soft compound tyres, dumping the hards, and he can now go to the end with 14 laps remaining in this race, getting the undercut, or triggering the undercut, on a championship rival, Bon Evil. No play Dutchy, no Two Saint here tonight to challenge for the lead of the race, but challenging for second place is Cameron Kaboom on the inside of X-Natty G, and he gets the move done. Deja Vu from a lap ago, this time doesn't lose the rear on the exit of turn 12 and keeps second place going in towards turn 15 and 16. Lovely start from Cameron Kaboom, and worrying signs for X-Natty G, who's losing positions whilst on fresh soft compound tyres, and that is not ideal. Nor is the slide through the final corner, but there you go, Cameron peels off into the pit, and so does race leader Bon Evil, and Natty now inherits the lead of the Croatian Grand Prix after 22 laps. Has led a lot of this race, pitted on lap 18, so it has actually, led 18 laps in this race. That's pretty easy maths. I don't know why. I was trying to work out how many laps I led, but obviously it was when I pitted, but I lost the lead anyway. Pierre out of the pits ahead, comfortably ahead of Bon Evil, so the undercut really being effective there. The fresh softs against worn hards. I mean, that's like blindfolding someone, taping their legs together, and then giving them a bow and arrow trying to hit an archery target that's moving at 50 miles per hour. But besides the rather strange analogies, has this strategy worked well for Pierre? It's ditched the hards first, essentially, pits before Bon Evil. We'll have to wait and see how it works out for both drivers. Piero was the car ahead when they made their pit stop, so maybe Bon Evil could have reacted to Piero coming into the pits. Maybe he wants the fresh, soft tyre advantage at the end of the race. Speaking of, it's quickly approaching lap 22 of 34. We're just about to start lap 23. I jumped 10 laps into the future. So 12 laps to go here in this race at Croatia, Gavra Trail Seaside. Round number 3 of this 9-round calendar. I'm disappointed with polyphony because, well, Canada was leaked. The Circuit Gilverna was found in the data files a while ago, maybe I think 2 months ago now. So I thought, you know what, I'll put it in the calendar just in case. Because the original plan was always going to be 9 races. So I thought, you know, let's just put calendar in. We'll slap bang it in the middle so it doesn't get added for August or September. Then we won't go to calendar. And as we're approaching the end of September, there is an update coming in a few days, but no signs of Canada just yet. Well, it could be the new season finale, but it gets added next week, then we'll go to Canada after Monza. They will maintain the current season finale. So then, not long to go in this race, 11 laps to go, but next Natty G is leading this race on the soft compound tyres. And we'll just wait and see whether his strategy will work or not. For those of you who are tuning in live or have skipped ahead in the YouTube video, basically the softs and the hards are 2 mandatory tyres for this race, although the mediums are available. Natty chose to start on his medium compound tyres to get the advantage ahead of those starting on the hards, which he'd done after the first 18 laps before putting onto the softs. But then Piero and Bon Evil started on hards and have recently swapped and pitted for the soft compound tyres, trying to close down the gap to the race leader. Cowboy Kaboom on a similar strategy to Natty, although started on hards and then went soft and is now on another set of the soft compound tyres and is not too far behind the cars in front of him and is going purple to the middle sector and does hold fastest lap of the race so far. The driver with the fastest lap by the time they cross the finish line when the checker flag is being raised will receive 1 bonus point in the Drivers' Championship, and that point could be crucial come the end of the season. We've seen championships decided by 2 points in the past, so every point matters, every point counts. Let me know, guys, in the chat as well, what is your favourite livery on the grid this season? It can be from a driver who is or is not here. We will be going through them throughout this race. I think I've tried to give everyone roughly, as much screen time as possible. Obviously, these drivers would like to watch their race back and see themselves mentioned at some point of the race, apart from qualifying. But obviously, if there's a battle in a particular part of the circuit that happens for a long period of time, then I think you'd rather watch that than watching hot laps of someone driving around. But Gavra Trail Seaside is it's quite a beautiful track, actually, scenically. One that's not real, made by Polyphony, located in Croatia. But you can see there the mountains in the background, the beautiful blue sky, and the sea just on the other side of this hairpin as the Black Country Mist goes down the hill there. You can see the sea or a lake. I'm not too sure what it is. We don't have the option to zoom out, so we can go in photo mode later and find out. But this track is also home to the very low flying helicopter that likes to fly particularly low. You can hear it. Whether you can hear it over the sound of the commentary, you can see it there in the background. Dangerous. But anyway, you can see on the map in the top right, this is Dex Natty G going through the hairpin of turn 12, and the lead is closing in every single second of the way. About 13 seconds is the gap between Natty and Piero. And I think it's slightly more than 13 seconds for a pit stop. We'll have to wait and see. Although, having said that, you do get let back out onto the circuit relatively late down the start-finish straight. So, judging by the gaps, I don't think Natty's going to win this race. I don't think he's found enough time on the mediums or the softs in order to make this work, and add to the fact that Piero and Bonnie even have had a spin. But a new fast lap of the race set by Bon Evil 99, a 1 minute 19.7, beaten by a 1 minute 19.6, set by Cameron Kaboom in 4th place. So the top 4, well, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, setting some really quick lap times. 19.7, 19.6, 20.5 for Piero, 20.8 for Natty. So the top 2 are the 2 slowest drivers out of the top 4. Black Country Mission on 21.1, so only 0.3 slower than the race leader. That might be a little bit of a shock, especially if you are the race leader. You don't want to be hearing that the driver in last place, no disrespect to Black Country Mush, finished on the podium, rear Gavra Racing podium in the GT7 lead. The race leader's being hunted down every step of the way by Piero and Bon Evil, who are slowly but surely getting a little bit more hope into themselves that they can win this race. It's almost like an elongated version of Cars, where it's the King and Chick Hicks closing down Lightning McQueen with those 2 rear punctures. However, it's a slightly different scenario where, well, the race leader is trying to put out as much of an advantage as possible, but you can see the wear on those tyres. And he's still got to use the hard compound tyres. Otherwise, it will be a 1 minute penalty for the GT7 admin. Who would have thought I'd be saying that? Because I am the GT7 admin. We could be in for a showdown here in the Seaside of Dragon Trail between Piero and Bon Evil, and depending on if these 2 come together or not between now and when next Natty G pits, we could see a 3-way fight for the lead of this race, albeit Natty will have that massive disadvantage on those hard compound tyres, but it's a tyre that he has to use sooner rather than later, or for his case actually later rather than sooner, I guess. Riding on board with the race leader with the Ollie Behrman stickers and the Ollie Behrman helmet, can he produce a masterclass like his whole time in Baku? Behrman's that is, not mine, I don't get pole. On board with Bon Evil in 3rd place, fighting for 2nd place on the road, but it looks like it will be for the lead of the race. Gaining and gaining all the time in the slipstream. Piero goes defensive to the inside, down at turn 12. Bon Evil thought about it, a little bit of a twitch to the inside, but wisely backs out of it. That could have been an airplane crash into the sea, but he had gone for it. A little kiss of the barrier on the outside, pushing the limits of these cars every single corner to give him the advantage over Piero. He chooses to sit behind, going in towards the final corner at turn 17. He knows there's no DRS in these cars, but there's a nice long start-finish straight with the slipstream effect to tow him along to aid his overtake down in towards turn 2, but isn't close enough to the back of the pink pole sitter, the pink Piero. If only Piero was like Polish or from Peru. What are you called if you're from Peru? Peruvian? I don't know. Actually, no. Peruvian. I don't actually know if it is Peruvian, but it sounds right. I don't think it's right. Let me know this. What are you called if you're from Poland, from Peru? Like your English, Spanish, Peru, I don't know. But if it was from Peru or Poland or Pakistan or any other countries beginning with P, Papua New Guinea or whatever, it would have been the perfect alliteration. The Polish Piero in his pink pole-sitting car, whatever, I don't know. Anyway, Xpander G starts lap 31 and 34 in the lead of this motor race, with Piero and Bon Evil in second and third in hot pursuit, with Cameron Caboon a couple of seconds behind, with 2 cars in front, missing out on a podium position as it stands, but could snatch third place depending on where Natty filters out onto the circuit. Natty's softs are beginning to look a little bit degraded, a little bit worn, coming towards the end of his stint. And look at the gap on the map, it's definitely not going to be enough to get a pit-stop advantage over Pierre and Bon Evil, and unless he is esports quality, will not be going quicker than them whilst on hard compound tyres. No matter how warm Piero's hard softs are, he's on the back foot here, and he's a bigger back foot, but he's spun it for full 360 degrees. Look at the smoke coming out of the back of that Super Formula. But a mistake. Let's watch it one more time on the curb, not even before the curb. I think he lost it before then. I think we're going to ride on board, because it's a beautiful spin to witness. But a horrific mistake to make from the race leader, who's led every single lap, apart from 4 of them. Let's have a listen. All seems fine. The rear's gripped in second gear, but then by the time he got to third, the wheel spin kicked in, the wear on the soft compound tyres, resulting in a tragic end to Natty's race. It's not over yet, but he can see his rivals in his rear view mirrors, and he'd hope to see them on the final lap as opposed to lap 31. He pulls into the pit. That spin has completely shredded the rear tyres, but it does mean that Piero will now inherit the lead of the race, and the fight for second now becomes the fight for first. Strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen. It's not going to be Natty who wins this race. He abandons the soft and switches onto the mandatory hard. So there you have it. Like I said earlier, all 5 drivers have now span in this race. 2 of them at turn 4, 1 of them at turn 12, the other, actually no, 2 at turn 12, 2 at turn 3, and 1 on the exit, or actually going through turn 15 and 16, Def Chicane. Here we go then, the fight for second, the fight for the lead is now on between the Gulf Williams and the Pink Piero Mobile. I don't know what to call it. Down towards turn 12 for the 32nd time in this race. Bon Evil with the the fresher tyre advantage. Piero with track position, but is track position important at a circuit that's probably 80% flat out? It's flat from 1 to 2, 6 to 12, and then 12 to 17. I don't know, it's technical, but not a lot of braking is needed. Piero starts the final lap of the race in the lead, and he finished in the lead of this race, starting in pole position. Doesn't quite have the fastest lap, hasn't led every single lap, but that's not important. It's about picking up the full 20 points for winning a Grand Prix race, and Bon Evil will be trying to take as many of those points away from his championship rival as soon as possible, and at as many races as possible. Piero, yet to win thus far this season from the opening 2 rounds, has got 3 podiums from all 3 races. But he's now under threat from Bonnie behind. Piero does have a lot of overtake at his disposal to use, which I'm sure he will be trigger happy to use between now and the end of the race. Oh, but it's gone wide, it's gone deep, down in towards turn 12, and the leaders are now side by side in the run down towards Def Chicane. This can't work, someone surely has to back out. Bonnie on the outside, there's contact, and Bonnie's in the wall. And that was never going to work. Side by side and super formulas into Def Chicane. There's the mistake from Piero. Let's just give it a listen and see if anyone is to be at fault. Tough one to call. We'll have to wait and see what the stewards say about it. Piero's slowing down to wait for the stranded Bon Evil, but this is bringing Cameron Kaboom into the fight for the lead of this race. Three drivers fighting for the lead of this race, but it's the final lap, lap 34 of 34. And has this dramatic race got one final twist in the tail? A little mistake from Bon Evil on the exit of turn 3 could put him under pressure from Cameron Kaboom behind. Both on pretty much exactly the same tyre wear. All three drivers in the top 3 actually on fairly similar tyres. Only 5 more corners left to go in this race, and it's one that's been led by Natty for so long and so often, but we're going to see another change of position in the podium, because here goes Bon Evil side by side with Cameron Kaboom. Cameron's on the wall. That was actually a beautiful spin. Look at this, they both spin in opposite directions. Down in towards turn 12, Bon Evil on the inside, Cameron Kaboom on the outside. They both lose the rear and part ways from each other. It does mean though that Cameron Kaboom is going to be ahead going in towards Def Chicane, but Bon Evil's going to have the toe. He's going to have the slip ring, and mistake from Cameron Kaboom takes too much curb through the chicane. Here comes Bon Evil, defensive for Cameron. Bonnie's trying to find room on the inside, down in towards the final corner on the final lap. Bonnie breaks later, swoops right round the outside, loses the rear through the corner. Piero is going to win the Croatian Grand Prix. There's going to be a drag race for second. Contact after the line. Bonnie gets second, and Cameron Kaboom finishes in third place and rounds out the podium positions, and a dramatic end to a dramatic race. Let's get the final on-board replay of the photo finish for the podium. A little bit of arging and barging between those two, but it's Bonnie in second, Cameron in third. Natty might be disappointed with fourth place, but it's where he started, it's where he finished, so no positions lost. But will be disappointed to have led so many laps and not finished on the podium. If only we used the IndyCar point system, then he would have picked up a lot of points from this race. Last but not least though, Black Country Mush had a crash through turn 15, through the chicane, and from then actually set some pretty consistent and quick lap times, comparable to the race leaders actually at one point of this race. But it's to run through the grid for one final time. Black Country Mush in 5th, Next Manager in 4th, Cameron Kaboom in 3rd, Bon Evil in 2nd, but Piero wins the Croatian Grand Prix and his first win of the season. Let's have a look. What's the best angle for this car at this point of the track? Let's go for a nice above shot of the car going towards the curve. That's beautiful. There you go, Piero. There is your race-winning driver for today's race. It's the Frenchman who beats the British here at Dragon Trail Seaside. If you guys enjoyed that as much as I did, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitch as well. Join us next week for Trial Mountain, the first American race of the season and the only American race of the season, but with a twist, because we go to it backwards, and unlike anything we've ever seen before, the softs, the mediums and the hards are all mandatory tyres. Which order will the drivers use them? Will they use any more than once? We'll have to wait and see. 31 laps await us. I've been XNG. Hope you guys have enjoyed your viewership is very much appreciated. Thank you to Gavra, thank you to the admins, thank you to the drivers, thank you everyone for making this happen. And I'll see you guys next time for Trial Mountain, the American Grand Prix. Please be a little bit patient. I'll try and get these done as soon as possible and when possible. Thank you very much. Goodbye.